What's up? We are on our way to Roman from Rom-Racing. We're super excited. We will have the opportunity to test some motorcycles from Aprilia. We don't know yet which kind of bikes we're gonna get. You will probably know from this video in the title up ahead what the bike is. We don't know what bikes we'll have, but we'll do our very best to give you the best impressions of those. We were looking forward to this opportunity for a long time, so now it's rather late. We want to get to Roman before he closes his shop to pick up the bikes, and afterwards we are planning to do some night filming with the bikes today. And we have 2 days ahead of us, so a perfect weekend of Aprilia bike testing, and we were looking forward for this opportunity for a long time. We will do our very best to give you the best of our impressions and the best of our opinions of the motorcycles. And yeah, stay tuned. We are very happy to give you this content, so see you soon.
So here we are in Glanaland, Rom-Racing. Let's see what Roman prepared for us, and don't waste any more time. Here we go. Here we are. We have a Tuono V4 factory, we have the RS660, and we have the Tuono 660. What a beautiful lineup. It's gotta be honest with you, I feel like a kid in a candy store. I kinda waited, so let's start the day with the Tuono 660. So here we go. First day and great impressions stay. The new Tuono 660 from Aprilia. A new segment for the Tuono. I gotta tell you, again, I felt very much at home with this motorcycle. I started my riding career, I would call, a Suzuki SV650, the naked bike. That was my first motorcycle, and I always felt that this category of motorcycles, mid-sized naked bikes, are so good for starters, so friendly motorcycles for handling, for being approachable, and in the last consequence of that, also very good bikes for beginners and also for people who don't want to get overwhelmed with anything by any strange positioning or any strange engine characteristics, engine behavior, and also experiencing the lightness similar to some kind of I wouldn't call it a bicycle, of course, but you know what I mean, with this feeling of just easy handling. And that is just what Aprilia approached a sector with this motorcycle, and they did a fantastic job, in my opinion, almost perfect job for positioning themselves in this category. And I would definitely say that this is a top contender for this category. I'm thinking about the MT-07 from Yamaha or the Suzuki SV650, of course. Then again, those motorcycles, I think, lack innovations which this bike has, and is again Aprilia taking those innovations to a sector where they haven't been used before. Let me elaborate on the motorcycle a little bit more. The first thing I realized with this bike is its beautiful engine. I gotta tell you, I'm super happy with what Aprilia did with this half V4 engine layout. They took a two-cylinder inline two-cylinder 660cc engine. It has lightness to it when being in low revs, and great power, great fun when you go up the revs. Very, very entertaining, very good. Nothing bad to say about the engine itself. What else is very good is that Aprilia offers you the complete electronic package with the bike. That means you have all the safety features from big motorcycles, which are usually not represented in this sector. And oftentimes I feel like, or I always felt that it was kind of a bummer to not have safety features, not have electronic safety features, which thinking about it, does not cost a manufacturer too much money for selling the bike or putting them in, because once the ECU and the sensors are positioned on the motorcycle, it's just a matter of software. And other manufacturers oftentimes cut back on those helpers, and you find yourself on a bike which would be more for beginners, but does not feature safety features, as those are only available with the more powerful motorcycles, which are not primarily intended for beginners, which I always felt is a bummer. You have a cruise control on the motorcycle, super nice, super for a category like this, where you can also think about touring, think about doing long trips, doing a 2-week trip, whatever, being on the highway, just going from A to B. It's just a very big helper for that regard. And again, you have the opportunity with Aprilia to set up your own individual setup of electronics aids, so you can set up your traction control independently from your ABS or everything else, which other manufacturers again do not offer, as oftentimes you would find yourself switching around in riding modes but not being able to configure the riding modes yourself. What I want to point out in this regard, nevertheless, is that Aprilia with this model does not allow you to turn off things. The RS660, so the super sport version of this bike, does allow you to do these, and I'm very happy that they do, because it just makes it more, lets you experience the bike or the range of its capabilities even more when you're experienced, when you maybe want to try out how it feels like to cut back on the ABS or the traction control, maybe go on a racetrack. I understand that Aprilia says that this is not the right motorcycle for that, and in that regard we do not allow you to do anything stupid. I get it, it's okay. It's just a shame on the other hand, because it's available on the system model of this bike. Nevertheless, I want to really point out that this is not standard in on any manufacturer whatsoever. This is really an exception. And I mean, I get the idea behind it. It's fine for me, and it's fine for this bike. When we see the motorcycle itself, I think the first thing which pops into your eyes is the design of the bike. I really much like it. It's so nice, the design language Aprilia chose now, with the nice LED daylights. You have the show-off mode, you can turn them on, you can turn them off. Also, you can turn off the main headlights and just ride around with those, and it's very visible on daylight riding. And of course, when you want to show off, when you want to position the bike nicely, you can just turn them off, and it just gives it the nice pop, what is beautiful to me. And what I also really like for a bike like this is that it looks so sexy. It looks like a big Tuono, which is a big advantage for this bike, because I catch myself oftentimes comparing both, standing next to each other and having to look at the swing arm or technical components to identify which of them are which is, like I said, a big advantage for this bike. Not so big of an advantage for the bigger V4 engines, but nevertheless, this is not what this topic is about, or this video is about. Like I said in the beginning, the first thing you feel on the bike, it's very approachable, it's very forgiving, very easy handling. Nothing which would have a strange sensation, nothing which would make you nervous. It's also rather light, rather easy handling, and not only do I say that this is good for touring or doing longer trips or maybe not so good roads or just when you don't want to go fast too much, then this Tuono would probably be in some use cases a better choice than the V4 Tuono when it really just comes to making progress or making a long tour. You also have a more comfortable seating position. I really want to point that out. This is probably the most comfortable of the seating positions of all Aprilia's lineup to this date. And also I would say that this motorcycle is not only suited for beginners but also suited for women or people of smaller stature who just do not want to be overwhelmed with a big motorcycle, with a big performance or big heavy machinery, but just want to enjoy easy riding, easy commuting, for example, as well. That is very good on this bike. The handling is, like I said again, very nice, very comfortable seating position, and the sound of the bike is also extremely good. I'm very happy with what they took or what they made of this engine and this bike. I feared that with emissions regulations they would cut back on that, but Aprilia really kept the essence of their bikes. You can identify them, you can hear them from far apart. Well, of course, when you are in the upper revs, in the lower revs, it's totally city friendly and totally socially acceptable. So a really, really great soundtrack. And I also want to point out that I think the soundtrack on this bike is even better than on the RS660, because on the lots of the sound is coming here from the airbox, and on the RS660 you're sitting more positioned towards the front wheel, and you just hear it. You really hear that the engine sound is coming from here. On this bike, with the seating position way more back, it's not that big of an issue from my experience, and it was really, really enjoyable to use the bike this way. Lastly, I want to talk a little bit about the drawbacks on this motorcycle, and also about what Aprilia kind of missed out to put into this bike to make it a real Tuono to following the philosophy of a Tuono in the last consequence. The thing is, with the RS660 you even get the up and downshift blipper, like I said, the electronic adjustability, and also better front suspension. I don't know about the rear suspension. I didn't feel that being too big of a deal, but I felt it definitely on the front. And I would just have wished that Aprilia made it a real Tuono in the philosophy of the Tuono, to take the super bike or the super sport motorcycle, just put on the larger handlebars and keep the essence and keep the performance of the bike. I gotta say, they missed out on that regard, like I said, on those two smaller aspects, and that is kind of a drawback. Nevertheless, totally acceptable, totally fine for this category, and maybe if that saves some retail value of the bike, then it's if you can manage not to have those, then it's super fine. And I gotta tell you, it's not like you can't ride a bike sporty without the up and downshift blipper. It's just a comfort feature for quick shifting. Otherwise, you can do the classic approach we used to do back in the day all the time, of not using your clutch too much, matching your revs and switching without the clutch. The gears works perfectly fine and super well with this motorcycle too. So I felt nostalgic, and I felt it like a nice fun factor to have that as well. In the end, what remains is that this bike is again so cool to have, also for just imagining young riders starting motorcycling. Being 18 and having something like this put into your garage, you're probably gonna get much attention from your friends and from girls maybe as well, because it just looks beautiful and it rides beautiful. Of course, it's not like the V4 Tuono is, but in the philosophy of a Tuono, I get the concept, it fits the bike, and it's also a good stepstone to start with a bike like this. Maybe have it cut back on the power in the beginning when you have to do by license regulations. Afterwards, open it up, and it's still 5, 6, or even 10 years later, once you started motorcycling, will still find yourself having fun with a bike like this. and it could be a perfect stepstone to get used to this bike, get used to being a Tuono rider, get used to the Aprilia brand, and switching up to a V4 in your 20s, 30s, whatever. That would be super cool. And that is also what makes me, again, very happy that this choice is now possible to have from Aprilia, that they have a stepstone motorcycle for beginners, stepstone motorcycles for those who want to get more involved into what Aprilia means and what the philosophy of the bike is. And that is really beautiful. I'm super happy about that. If you like this video, check out also our other videos. Roman from Rom-Racing kindly offered us to test all the street lineup of Aprilia. We tested them all. We gave it a big effort. And leave a thumbs up if you liked the video. Write the comment below if you have questions. So see you again. This is V4 Maniac. Cheers.